Good afternoon, Lotford Primary School. My name is Ben Collins, and I'm going to be talking to you about all about the Arctic and the Antarctic, and also answering some of your questions that you had, some of your brilliant questions. So hopefully, I've got some brilliant answers as well. I'm going to be talking about my most recent expedition, which was to a place called Svalbard in the Arctic, and it looks a little bit like this. So that's what I'll be answering my questions about, and also some of my past experiences as well. So what made me go to the Arctic? Well, the Arctic melts in the summer and it freezes in the winter. And every year, the Arctic is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So eventually, there's going to be no Arctic ice to explore. So I wanted to do it as soon as possible to see as much of the ice and as much as the wildlife as possible. Because I feel in the next 100 years, you may not be able to have the same experience as you would nowadays, which is a real shame. But that's the way climate change is going. Have I ever seen a polar bear? On my recent expedition, I camped next to on a fjord, which is a body of water coming in from the ocean. And I camped on the side of this fjord, and whilst I was asleep, unbeknown to me, a bear had swum across the fjord and climbed out about 5 meters away from my tent and was sniffing through my food. Luckily, the person who was on bear watch, which is the person who stays up and looks out for the bears, luckily she saw him and managed to keep the situation safe. But there was a bear about 5 meters away from my tent, which is amazing. They are really, really huge animals, but they're not very fast. You might know that reindeer and polar bear live in the Arctic, but the polar bears don't hunt the reindeers because the polar bears are very lazy, and they'd rather just wait at the sea ice for their seals rather than chase these reindeer, because the reindeers are actually really good runners. So yeah, lazy polar bears can't be bothered with the reindeer. At night time, it wasn't too bad. During the day, it was into the minus temperatures, but at night time, what we do is you get into your tent and you have 2 stoves. You've got one for cooking and boiling your water and making sure that all your food is ready, and the other one you put on the side and you turn it on and you just leave it there. And what it does is it heats up your tent, and your tent can get up to around 20 degrees. So inside your tent, you can sometimes be wearing your pajamas or just normal clothes. So it does get really toasty inside your tent, which is great and really nice when it's freezing outside. What do you eat and drink? That's a really good question. Well, what I eat is what I took with me was vacuum packed food. So I had curries, I had chilies, and they were all in airtight bags. And what I would do is I would take some water, maybe seawater, boil it up, and then put my vacuum packed bags into those pots of boiling water, and then it'd be ready to go. Really nice hot meal. In terms of drinking, we've got the glaciers. So these iced over ice sheets which are moving down the side of the mountain, they're melting at the bottom. So I put my bottle underneath and collect that water and drink it, and it's some of the purest water you will ever drink. It's really, really nice. In terms of keeping my energy up during the day, I couldn't take Mars bars or Twixes or double deckers, so you have to take, I take seeds, and especially pumpkin seeds, because they've got a lot of energy in them and they pack down really small. So pumpkin seeds are really good for keeping you going. So the biggest animal I've seen was probably a humpback whale. They were doing what we call breaching, and that's when they jump out of the water and then they land on their tummies on the water and make a huge, huge splash. So I saw a couple of humpback whales. The cutest animal? It might have to be the Arctic fox. Or actually no, puffins. The puffins in the Arctic are really, really tame, so they come really close and they're about this big, and they've got long beaks which makes them look really sad. But no, they're really cute and really funny as well. And the scariest animal I've seen is definitely the polar bear. When you get up and close and personal with them, in the TV series and movies, it doesn't really do it justice, but they are huge and they have really long claws and big spiky teeth. So you don't want to get on the wrong side of a polar bear, trust me. Does the sun go down at night time? Depends when you go. If you go to the Arctic in the summer, there is 4 months of just daylight. So for every hour of every day for 4 months, the sun is up. But if you go in the winter, it's dark all the time. For every hour of every day, the moon is in the sky and it is pitch black. So it depends when you go. There's also a transitional period in between of 2 months where the sun is either rising, it's either sunrise for 2 months, or the sun is setting for 2 months. So that's kind of like a twilight period. I went by myself on this previous expedition, but it was quite a popular place to kayak. I mean popular, there's probably about 4 or 5 people on the same fjord. So at night times I would try and find other people to camp with so that it was safe and we could take turns doing polar bear watch. Now I expected the weather to be really snowy, really cold, but actually in the summer it's not too bad. It was about -6 and it was actually raining. It was really miserable. Some days it was raining, some days it was really sunny, and it was very similar to what we have here really, weather-wise, just a little bit colder. But in the winter obviously it can get down to around -65 degrees, so that's just unbelievable, and the coldest place on earth. I hear you're having a really fun Polar Fun Day, and I hope the rest of it goes really well. I hope you've enjoyed this, and if you have any more questions, you can send them to me or ask your teacher to send them to me, and I will get back to you as soon as I can.